Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the Soul Tribe Podcast. We're really excited to bring you this new episode all about intuition. And I'll just let Lou take it on from here.
Well, basically, this episode we considered to be our first main big episode, because the one we did before was kind of like an intro into who we are, what our mission is, and what we plan on doing and why we're doing it and how we got there. But this is our first episode just about a topic, and we weren't sure yet what we were going to do. And I went to sleep one night, and I had meditated before I went to sleep like I usually do. And I'd meditated on like divine light of intelligence and all this other stuff, just to center myself and to get me mentally in the correct place for us to start this podcast. And I woke up in the morning and went, oh, I know what the first topic needs to be about. It needs to be about intuition. And I'm like so obsessed with this subject. I'm so obsessed about it. Like I love the intuition. It's been mostly because of my work that I've done through the Akashic Records. I can't think of one person I haven't read that I say, this is what I see. This is what you should do. This is what seems to be the path of what's right for you. And I always at some point hear the person saying, oh, you know what? I knew that. I just kind of needed someone to tell me it, or tell me that I wasn't crazy, or just tell me to go for it. And so I'm obsessed with this subject because it's so funny how we all really in the deep down, inside of us, we know what we're supposed to do and we know what we feel and we want, but sometimes we just don't do it, or we just, the mental aspect of being a human being comes into it, right? And you say, no, that doesn't make sense. I'm not going to make enough money, or how am I going to do that? Or how am I going to do that trip? Or how am I going to, move out? Or how am I going to change jobs? I'm going to find another one. And everyone just like ifs everything, but if I do it, what? And if I don't, instead of just going, you know what, I have the feeling for a reason, I'm just going to do it. And so that's all intuition. It's all you sensing something that is best for yourself, and no one else knows it, that it's good for you except for yourself. And no one's going to push you to do it. You're the only person that can push you to do it. And so it's a subject that I really think is important for everyone to kind of know how it works for them, because I believe that intuition comes in different ways for everybody, also depending on the subject of what it is in your life. But maybe, Lorena, you want to kind of go over how you think intuition works, maybe for you, and the way that you've seen it in your Akashic Records and the people that you've helped.
For sure. I do definitely get the same thing out of a lot of people. I would say most people, when I open their Akashic Records, they end up saying at some point, or even after the records are closed, it's like, oh, I knew I had that feeling. I kind of knew it already. But it's that fear that sets in that kind of blocks you from moving forward, and you're just like, oh no, that's silly. I'm not going to listen to that, or I'm not sure. That doesn't make any sense. Why would I do that? That's the kind of like doubt and fear that comes over people that kind of blocks them from tuning into their intuition. And for me, intuition has usually, I feel, come to me. I feel a lot, so it's in feelings, or repeated feelings, or sometimes signs, depending. And the big one for me was like ideas, like in my life, which I didn't realize was intuition. It was more like, oh, I have another idea, which I had so many ideas, and I've studied so many things, and it was always like something new popped up. And I just thought it was me being crazy, but it was my intuition leading me down the right path. But for sure, I think people receive intuition in different ways. And some people ask for signs, some people get signs, some people get feelings, some people get repeated feelings, like I was saying before, like just the same feeling coming over them about a specific subject or a specific thing that they want to do, but they are not doing, or like urges or ideas that pop into their head that they like. It's not just an idea when it's something that keeps coming into your head and you just get this feeling with the idea. That's intuition. Like that's completely intuition, and that's something you need to listen to. Um, yeah, I don't know what you think about like listening to your intuition, Lou.
You know that I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
You've known me since I was born, and I was always the crazy sister. You was always the logical, straightforward, do the right thing, and do everything in its own time. And you kind of always did things that were expected of you, right? And I was always the crazy sister that I went, oh, I'm just gonna travel to Europe, and everyone's like, are you crazy? You have no money. I don't know. I'm just gonna do it. Money will come to me when it has to, the amount that it needs to. And I was always kind of like, and no one taught me that. I was kind of born with that craziness, and but things always seemed to work out for me. And so my latest one was, you live in Cayman Islands, right? We were both
Mhm.
living there at the time. I now live in Holland. But when we were both living in Cayman Islands, you knew that I was going through like a really hard time in my personal life, and I knew that I had to leave. And I had my child, and she was 9 months old, and picking up a bag for any mother with a 9-month old baby, trying to run away from a really bad relationship that doesn't give you no longer gives you what you need. It seems like an easy decision to make, but it's not. And especially when you just created this like family, and there's another human being, their happiness, and they need you, that all depends on you, right? But I knew it. I knew that I had to leave, and I knew that I had to leave not only for myself. I knew I had to leave for her, for my daughter, right? I knew that she needed better. This couldn't be what she was going to see the rest of her life, and that couldn't be the rest of my life either. And all I knew is I wanted to get out, and I needed to distract my mind. So I had to, which meant leaving my job, leaving the country I'd been living in for the last 5 years, right? And it also meant, you know, picking up and going to the unknown with a 9-month old baby. And all I knew was the only way to accomplish it is to distract my mind. So I won't think too much about it after I did it. And I knew that I wanted to study coding because I was passionate about it. And so my goal, since my child is English, my goal had been to go somewhere like Scotland. I always liked Scotland. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to move to Scotland. And it didn't happen. I didn't manage to find a school. Either the dates of starting didn't work out for me, or the school couldn't take me in for whatever reason. And it just kept on being like a hit and miss, right? But I knew that I had to study coding. And then the only school that I ended up managing to find that, was starting at the right time for me. And that was able to take me in. I passed all the tests to get in and all these things, right? And it ended up bringing me here to Holland, and everyone thought I was crazy, including you, Lorena.
Yeah.
Everyone thought I was crazy, and everyone thought I was doing the wrong thing. And I was getting emails from our other family members telling me, "Don't go. You're ruining your life. Most importantly, you're going to be ruining your daughter's life, and you're being irresponsible." And I just kept getting everybody coming back to me, And there was maybe one or two people in my life that said, "I don't think it's a good idea, but I love you. If you ever need, something to fall back on, I'm here." But it was only like one or two people. No one else supported me in it. Everyone just let me know that I was very crazy about it and I wasn't doing the right thing. But my intuition, kicked in, and I knew it. I don't know how. I don't know how I knew it. And I don't know why I knew it. It was just a knowing that came to me. For me, it comes as a knowing. Like it just comes to my mind when I go, oh, I have to do this. I don't know why, but I have to. I just have to. And so I ended up doing it. And it was the best decision I ever made. And, I had some people that were very close to me after go, you should go back to all those people that once told you that you were crazy, you're doing the wrong thing, and tell them I told you so. And I said, no, that's not how I feel about it. They were just, communicating their concerns, thinking that I was going to ruin my life and my daughter's life. And it was out of love. It wasn't out of a bad place. So when you have someone that's behind you telling you don't do it, it's usually not a negative, negative comment. It's usually them genuinely loving you and being concerned. And I think that's the big thing about intuition. Only you know what's best for you. No one else can tell you what you should do.
Yeah, totally. And it's so hard when you have this urge, because for you, it's always like black and white, right? Like it's I need to do this, and there's no other option, and you will do everything in your power to make it happen. Like that's how you are. For me, I'm a more indecisive person, so when for me to listen to my intuition it's a little bit harder. But for me, it came through with the Akashic Records, for example. I called you that day, and I was talking to you about like doing Akashic Record, like opening my own, and then I had that intuition, like that intuitive message say to me, you need to learn to open other people's Akashic Records. And I was like, okay. Like I never felt like I could do it because I never felt like, I guess, worthy of it, or like I don't know what it was. But talking to you that day, it came to me, and I know 100% that was intuition. It was a message from, I feel like it was a message from my guides telling me what to do. Like, this is your path. This is what you need to do. And I followed it. And I'm not kidding. Like a week later, I was already studying. Like maybe a week and a half later. I don't remember exactly the time frame, but I did it, and it all worked out. I was like, if this is meant to be, it's going to work out, because I didn't have anyone here in Cayman to teach me. So I needed to look to people I already kind of knew and had already opened my records, or I had already studied with, and the right person came to me, and it was perfect. It was perfect timing, perfect everything, and I'm months in now to opening other people's Akashic Records, and I feel completely aligned, and it's perfect, and it's given me the purpose that I've always wanted to feel in my life but could never feel with anything. Like with, I mean, nothing, not any job or any move to any country, nothing. Like this is my intuition helping me guide me on my path, the right path, to make me happy and to bring joy to other people and to myself. Um, so I think with that said, I think maybe we can go into a few like tips for people
Mm-hmm.
on how they can listen to their intuition. I think for me, number one would be um, don't ignore your feelings. Like you need to listen to your feelings. Like for you, Lou, in your specific case, you had a feeling that you needed to leave. You needed to leave the country. It was the craziest thing to do, but you felt it and you knew you were going to leave and you were going to find the right place. So I think the first thing is acknowledging your feelings, making sure that you're listening to yourself and to what you're feeling, and that will put you on the right path to starting to listen to your intuition for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I also want to add to that. The most important thing about intuition is, like you said, recognizing what you're feeling, pick up on it, and say, okay, this exists. Give it its place in your body, in your mind, in your life, in your feelings, whatever way you're getting it, right? Recognize it, because a lot of us go, that's crazy, that's a crazy idea, or I shouldn't do that, or no, and we just ignore it. So
Mm,
yeah, give it its place. Give it the presence it deserves. It's there for a reason. I also would like to add that this is a subject that comes up in many readings I've done over the years, and right away I always remember, there's things that the masters say that I remember. And one of those things was, they always talk to someone that's maybe having issues with listening to themselves, or they already knew that, and they always say, okay, they always come back with, what is intuition? Intuition is your soul's way of letting you know that that is part of your divine plan. So
amen.
that's it. That's why, yeah, that's why you're feeling it. There's a reason. It's not a crazy thought. I think so. That's important to leave it as on like a post-it. It's part of my divine plan. So I'm gonna make it happen. It's gonna happen. I know. And the most important thing is, if you're feeling it and you really deep down inside you know it's the right thing for you, it can only make you feel good if you try it out. I think a lot of
Yeah.
the cases of readings is the person has either they're fearful of judgment around them, or they're fearful of failure. Failure is a really big one.
Failure is huge. But I feel like with the Akashic Records, like you're right. So many people end up saying at the end of the reading or during the reading, like, I already knew that. Like, I kind of already knew that. Or I had that idea in my head already, or something like that, something along those lines. but they weren't recognizing it, or they weren't paying attention to it, or they were just setting it aside. And then if you do that, there's no way you're going to move forward, because you're only listening to your brain, your head. You need to listen to your intuition. Your intuition is essentially your soul speaking to you. And that's why I feel like when people get an Akashic Records reading, or they open up their own and they journal with it, or they ask themselves questions, they end up getting the same answers. The same answers of whatever they're feeling or what they thought was right for them. They just need someone, an exterior voice, or someone to validate it, to give it, like, to say, yeah, it's okay you're feeling that way. It's okay that's the way you want to move forward, and that's going to work out. It's going to be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I almost every person that had an issue with not listening to intuition or not getting there yet, after reading will go, you know what, I already knew that. I already felt that. I guess I needed someone to say it to me. Sometimes it's because we don't want to think we're crazy, or it's a crazy idea, or it's something that we shouldn't do. Sometimes we just need someone to go, yeah, go do it. Or just someone hear the master say, this is part of your life contract. This is part of your divine plan. So you're feeling it, go do it. And that's all I need. Just to go, okay, you know what? I'm going to start that. Yeah, I'm going to try to do that. So it's just like a bit of like a nudge. The Akashic Records a lot of times is just a nudge. The person already knew it. They just needed someone to say it to them from the
Which
outside.
but it's actually yourself saying it to you, or your guide saying it to you. So it's essentially
Yeah.
the same thing. We just don't trust when it comes from us, or when we feel it, or when we hear it in our head, or it comes up as an idea, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then another thing I would add, for another point for intuition, would be maybe finding tools, like finding tools that you feel work for you to kind of cut out the thinking. So a lot of people find that through meditation, maybe even yoga, opening up your own Akashic records. And I mean tools for yourself, where you don't have to rely on someone else to give you the answers, or someone else to channel information for you. And then,
My favorite one, it
yeah,
actually is, do you know those thoughts you have when you're having like a good day, or you're laying down in bed and maybe you're in a good place mentally, and you think of something that you'd love to do. Oh my goodness, I would love to do this. And you imagine, you think about it, you go, you know what? Yeah. And that's a moment, like the pillow talk with yourself. The Akashic Records always talk about that with certain people. Like it comes up vaguely, not so often, but there's certain people they'll say to, you'll have a moment where you have your pillow talk with yourself and you dream these amazing things. But then when you wake up, you go, no, 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 that's crazy. I'm not going to do that. No way. And they say, what you're thinking when you're having your own pillow talk, that's your intuition, and that's your divine plan that you're feeling and you're sensing, and you're kind of tuning into it, because you're almost going into your sleep state, so you're connecting a little bit better. Your mind's leaving a little bit, so you're more connected just with your spiritual part, not so much your mental part. But then when you wake up, your brain wakes up right away with you, and all those pillow talk dreams and imagination and the creation of what your divine plan would have been or should be, it kind of gets rationalized by the mental aspect of us being human beings and going, no, 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 there's no way I'm going to do that, and then it's gone. It's not even
yeah,
considered anymore. So pillow talk, some people might see it as pillow talk. What is it that you think and feel and dream about right where you're about to go to sleep? That Take that into consideration. Think about that.
yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of when you let your guard down a little bit, right?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, finding the tools. So whatever tool or method that could help you connect to that, I think that'll be different for everybody. Um, for me, a lot of it was meditation and visualization. I'd find myself visualizing things that I didn't, like, I don't know, like I wouldn't necessarily like think of with my brain. So then I'd be sitting in the, listening to this great music and meditating, and I'd be like, wait, what do I want? What do I want to manifest? What do I want in my life? And all these visions would come to me. And then feelings, listening to your feelings, like we said before. So I think a third point to add here, would definitely be, um, just giving yourself space, because I feel like so many people are so busy in their life. They're so drained of energy. They're so consumed with their work, with obligations, with so many things, and you need to give yourself space to dream, to give yourself the permission to feel things or to let these things come to you, because if we don't even give them space, your intuition's not going to speak to you, right? That's I think a really, really important point to add in there. And as well, I think a fourth, and we can go back to the third in a second. I just don't want to miss this point. The fourth would be, don't necessarily tell everybody about your plans or what you're going to do, unless you have to. Because in the case of Lucia, and I was guilty of that. She had this big change that was going on in her life, and essentially we were all worried about her and the baby. But sometimes you have to tell people what you're going to do because it's such a big change and it's happening right there and then. But sometimes keep things to yourself and dream about it and let it kind of sink in, and feel it through your body and let it be a part of you for a while before you go out and tell people what you're going to do. And I feel like that helps you kind of manifest it more and talk yourself into it, because sometimes with certain things that you need to follow your intuition with, they're big changes. Like in the case of Lucia, like she made so many decisions around moving. Like it was like, selling things, and I don't know. There's just so many elements to it. It's not like this one little decision that just you flip a switch. No, it was huge. It's a huge life-changing decision that her intuition led her to do or to make. So, you have to be very careful who you involve in that, and you don't want someone clouding your judgment or kind of changing your mind about it. Because if it is your intuition and you know it's right for you, you deep, deep, deep down inside know it's right for you, you don't want someone, especially if you're susceptible to it, like me. Like I know if someone has an opinion about something, I might not do it, even though I know it's right for me. And I have fear of judgment and fear of this and fear of that. So, you have to know yourself. So I think those would be the 4 big points. If you want to go back to any of those, Lou, feel free, about giving yourself space and all that.
I think that, sometimes you do have to share your plan. I do also think that sometimes it's important not to share your plan, because it's still something you're feeling and going through, and you don't want to make the wrong decision that's dependent upon what someone from the outside believes is best for you. Because like your soul, says usually in most readings, it's only you know what's best for yourself, because you're the only one that's connected to your divine plan. No one else is connected to your divine plan. So what's right for you might be totally wrong for another person, but that doesn't mean it's wrong for you. And so that's what was happening to me. I knew that I had to do, like you said, I had to sell my house, and I had to leave my relationship, leave a whole marriage, and quit my job that I'd had for years, and get up and grab my baby and move and get rid of all my stuff. Like I could only carry 2 luggages. Like I had to fit my life in 2 luggages. One of those luggages was my baby stuff. So I had to fit my life in 1 luggage. And it's not an easy thing to do when you've settled somewhere and you have all this stuff that's yours, and you have to go, that's part of my old life now. But it made sense to me, even though it didn't to everyone else. But when you do hear other people's opinion of your decision, and I think the Akashic Records would say, as long as you're not doing anything that's hurting anyone else, because that's I think that's an important thing to say. As long as it's something that's you're doing it out of like an a genuinely loving place. In this case, it was a genuinely loving place for myself and for my daughter. I was doing it for love for myself, and I was doing it for the love of my daughter, and for the respect and the love I have for my soul and the life that I thought that I deserved and I wanted for myself and for her. And so that was my big reason. And I knew that how to get there. I knew how to move on to that next step. And it meant making those big changes. And it also meant, for me at the time, it meant listening to everyone else's opinion about it, and no one had a good opinion about it. And I think that my big tip for anybody who's going through something similar would be, don't let other people decide who you are. You have to go at home, you got to go into your own room at night and go to sleep, and you got to know who you are, and don't let other people's judgments or ideas of the person that you are, of self, Don't let it, change you. Don't accept that that's who you are. You know who you are, and you know why you're doing it. And as long as it's a genuinely loving reason, then there's no reason why it shouldn't be the right thing for you if that's your intuition and that's your feeling.
Yeah, I agree. But I do think that that is a very hard thing for a lot of people because it's so easy. Well, with the Akashic Records, it's not about judging. So I think that's something I'm a big thing I'm learning from the Akashic Records and opening other people's records. And they always, like the masters and guides will always say, we're not working from a place of judgment. We're just seeing things as they are. And it's not ever judging someone or something's right or wrong. It is what it is. And the same thing with this, like some people will judge you, and that's your place to stand your ground and to become strong. And it's happening for a reason. So I don't know. I struggle with that personally. So I know, people that might have trouble with that, but in essence, you're right. Like you are living your own life. That you're living in your own skin, and you're the one that has to wake up every day in that life that you're living. So if you're at a job that you hate, if you're at a job that it makes you like, you know, feel completely drained and makes you feel so unhappy, or you're in a relationship that makes you completely unhappy and not fulfilling, or you're living in a place that you just lived your whole life, but you're like, why am I here? Like, why am I still here? Because I'm supposed to be here? Like, all
Because
these
it's the
little
easy thing
things.
to do. Just
It's the
stay.
easy thing to do, exactly. Or because that's what everyone expects of you. So you need to really question yourself with things. And I feel like you're the only, like you said, you're the only one that can do that. No one can decide that for you. That's the beauty of life. Like you can reinvent yourself, you can change things constantly. You don't have to stick to your original plan. Like that's not, I mean, not everybody, but most people, you can reinvent yourself. You have free will in this life. You can do whatever the heck you want. And it's really just starts with you believing it and you wanting that change that comes from that soul guided intuition. And that will make you make the right decisions. That will put you
Yeah.
down the right path. If it comes from a place of like, oh, I don't want people to judge me, so I'll just do this, or, this is the easy thing to do, or this is what I'm supposed to do, or this is what my parents expect of me, then um, that'll eventually get to you in a way where you're going to have to follow your intuition. There's no
I
way
think for
around
me,
it.
the only part of that was hard for me was listening to other people's words, like towards me, like deciding, you're being a really bad mother with this. You're going to ruin your daughter's life, and you're not thinking of anybody but yourself. And hearing all those negative, feelings that people had, how they were like seeing me as a human being, and me knowing that that wasn't actually why I was making the decision, and I knew that I wasn't that person. And so that was for me the most hurtful part. That's the only part that made me like go to sleep at night crying, going, "Oh my God, I'm like this awful person to all these people that supposedly, love me. They think I'm this awful person." So that's I think that's a real struggle, and that sometimes that's part of the path, but it makes you stronger, and it makes you, I mean, it just makes you feel better at the end when you are finally happy, and you know that you did the right thing. And it's not the, I was right, and you were wrong thing. It's the, I followed myself, I carried on, and I did it for myself. And it's like it's this amazing self-love you gave yourself the possibility to do that and to push through it, and to decide that you're a better person than that what everyone seems to be describing you as at that moment, right? And so that was part of me making myself, you know, a more understanding and loving person for myself. I know that sounds a little weird maybe, but it was like all for me. It was all self-gain. Everything that I lived through, I gained for myself in the end.
Yeah. Which eventually, goes on to other people around you, right? Like they'll learn from that too, I feel at least. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I have any more like tips that I would really add on to the intuition.
The only thing I want to add is that I too did the kind of like manifesting list of things that I wanted. In my case, it was what do I want better to be? What do I want my life to be better? What is it that needs to improve in my life? What kind of life do I want? And I was starting to write it down. Well, this is the kind of relationship I want. And I wasn't saying, the physical aspect. I want this kind of person in my life. I want this kind of life. I want to end up living somewhere that gives me these things that I need for myself and for my child. And I want flexibility, and I want to be able to spend time with my daughter. And so I was writing down all these things that in the end I meditated on them, and I would imagine myself in each of those situations. And I meditated on them in that way. And they eventually down the line, I mean, it took like a year, but eventually down the line, they all manifested for me. And so, yeah, I think that's a big tip. Really knowing you have to pinpoint and know exactly what you want, and imagine yourself in that role. Imagine yourself getting that in your life. Imagine yourself, being that person or whatever it is that you're trying to manifest, and feel it. It's not just going, oh, like feel it, see it, be it, experience it. You're helping the energy level of that kind of to start rolling into your life in a way, right?
Yeah, and I think above all of that is feeling worthy of it. Feeling that you are worthy of whatever you want in your life. Because if you at any point doubt it or don't feel worthy or feel like you're not enough, it'll be so much harder to call that into your life. So you need to work on that too. I feel like that's a big part of manifesting and intuition, and feeling worthy of anything that comes to you, anything that you want, or anything that, any pings or wake-up calls that you have. Like, feel worthy of it. Work on your worth. It's so big. And I feel like, Lou, if you hadn't felt worthy of having a better life or seeking a better life, probably a better word for it, I don't know if you would have gone. Like, you probably would have doubted yourself a lot more. You probably would have,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't
people
think I
would
would
have
have
probably,
pushed for
yeah.
it, right?
Yeah, I feel like you probably would have been like, okay, maybe they're right. I'm going to listen to them. So
Yeah.
worth is above all. So work on your worth, with intuition and with manifesting and all that. We'll have another episode on manifesting because I have some really cool stories to say. But all in all, I think intuition is such an important part of life, of our soul's journey, and of the Akashic Records, because we get so much info about that in there. And I think one of the main questions I get is, what's my purpose? So since intuition and purpose is so linked, it's a very important part of the
I
records,
definitely
the
want to
Akashic
talk about
Records.
that question like in another episode.
Yes, for sure.
Because that's a question that people ask a lot, and I usually kind of know the response. So like I definitely want to talk about that in another episode, because in a way it's funny. It's like it's funny to me that that's always a question everybody asks, and rarely is it responded, and there's a big reason behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so definitely want to get into that, but I would definitely say that all that, it's intuition is your soul speaking to you, wrapping it up. Intuition is your soul speaking to you. It comes in form of signs, indicators, like you said, pings, however it is you're getting it, feeling it, whatever it is. Acknowledge it and know that it's your soul saying, this is what you're supposed to go. This is part of your divine plan. So go for it. And know that you're worthy of it. Like you said, know that you're worthy of it, and you can manifest it into your life. So it's all come like a package deal, right? All of those things need to come together for it to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Very well said. All right, with that, we're going to wrap this up, and we'll come to you with another episode very soon. Thanks again for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for tuning into this episode. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did and got something out of it. We would love to connect with everybody, so be sure to follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is @soul_tribe_podcast. See you all on the next episode.